Hello, and welcome to Take Two. This is the show that I take a look back at my previous guests from my Friday Conversation show over on IG Live. I take a moment to revisit old guests and see the strides and moves that they've made. Today's guest is no stranger to social media, YouTube, and the big screen. Help me welcome Mr. Dewayne Queen. What's up, Dewayne? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, please. Thanks for even willing to do this again. Yeah. I know you're a busy man. I see you all over social media and doing your thing.
Yeah, I am. I can't deny anymore that I'm not busy. Like when people are like, "You're really busy," I'm like, you know what? I really am.
Yeah, you are. You are. So look. So for those that haven't seen the IG Live, you were previously on last November 18th. So when this airs, will probably be about a year since I last spoke to you. And I know that you're doing some amazing things. Let's just kind of go backwards a little bit before we bring people forward. So, like I said, I made mention, no, you're not a stranger to YouTube. You're not a stranger to the big screen. You've been in big films. And you've had your own YouTube channel and podcast. Talk a little bit about that. So for people that don't know you, get a little bit of a background and insight into Mr. Dewayne Queen.
Okay. So if we're going backwards, that would mean that we can start with the Skinny.
Yes.
I was a character in Patrick Ian Polk's The Skinny, starring Jesse Smollett and a cast of other characters. I played the rapist in that film. And that kind of pinpointed and catapulted people knowing who I was, or just the conversation around the movie. Which is, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it is currently on Paramount, maybe the app.
Okay, so I have to go back and check it out again.
It's definitely on Tubi, which I think.
It needs to come off of Tubi, go on something else.
definitely on Tubi, but I think it's on one of the major network apps, which I think it's Paramount for sure.
Okay.
But just do a search. It's called The Skinny. If you haven't seen it, it's about 5 college friends that reunite in New York for New York's Pride weekend after college, after graduation, and all of the debauchery that happens when you meet up with friends during Pride. That's basically the premise of the movie. So yeah, that's kind of where people started kind of getting a buzz of who I am or who, what I do. And then kind of fast forward to here in Atlanta, I was on a podcast and YouTube series called Affairs of the Heart. And we talked about gay male experiences from sex, love, and relationships, just all in an encompassing conversation with 3 gentlemen, Aaron and Easy. And it was a great show. I think, we did not realize the lightning in the bottle that we had and how many fans we had and people that really enjoyed the show, which is how I came in contact with you.
Absolutely. I was a huge fan of that show. I remember, especially during the pandemic, that's kind of what sustained me for a while. So I was like, all right, when's the next episode coming out?
Yeah. And so we did, it was just love, sex, and relationships from a Black gay male perspective, literally. And we would have people write in and just share their stories anonymously, and we would talk about them. And, it was, I like to also call it the sex ed class that we never had for gay males.
Yeah.
And so that was great in its season and its time. And big ups to Aaron and Easy, because they're still just amazing human beings in the work that they're doing in the community as well. But from that, I started doing, during the pandemic, I started working in the community more. So doing a lot more community activations and really being present in community, and just kind of showing my face in that aspect and just supporting just different community endeavors. So I'll let you get to that, but that's kind of I guess if you will, from where I came from, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you were always a busy type of guy. Like, you're always going from one project to the next, and you've got multiple projects that you're working on. But like, I found you through, well, I'd seen The Skinny, and I didn't know who you were in particular. But then when you started doing Affairs of the Heart, I had found that. And I found you at a really good point in my life. I had just recently gotten married, and we were in lockdown, and this was just a great way for me to kind of learn a lot of the things that I probably actually never even really learned or even knew about. And I found the dynamics between the three of you guys so interesting because you guys were so diverse and from different spectrums. And it gave me a really good overview. And, I remember from that, you doing that show. And then you also did occasionally some just lives where you just kind of like really told your story. And that really touched me, touched Ronald. And I remember us reaching out to you. And that's how we started to interact. And I had to thank you for that because I think that your conversation was very necessary, and I need to hear a lot of the things that you were talking about. So I thank you for that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I think I remember saying to you both, first of all, big ups to Ronald. We love both of you. But I remember telling you both, if one person is affected by anything that I have ever said or done, then I've done my job, right?
Yeah, sir. You've done your job. Trust me. You've done your job. And I respect and I love you for that. Truly, I do. So moving forward, the pandemic actually allowed you to kind of grow and do some of the things that you probably had put on the back burner. And I want you to tell people about some of the things that you started to do and how it's really grown into something really spectacular.
Yeah. So, truthfully, I never imagined being a community activist and or leader by any chance. It's not something that it was ever on my spectrum or radar.
Mm-hmm.
And so during the pandemic, I joined the Atlanta Black Pride board as just a board member to support whatever activations or endeavors they were doing. And then from there, I joined another board. I joined the Out Georgia Business Alliance, which is kind of the Better Business Bureau of Georgia for LGBTQ businesses. And as an entrepreneur, I thought that was important to really kind of, connect with other business owners and or corporations that, were supported within the community. But becoming a board member for Atlanta Black Pride, there was no transgender activation during my first year. And so I said, well, if we have space and we have funding, why don't you allow me to create something for the transgender community? And that spawned the Trans Life Awards, where we honor trans men and women or non-binary identifying folk or allies to the transgender community that support them in various ways. And so we look at entertainment, we look at corporate, we look at community endeavors, we look at all of these areas and aspects, and the trans community infiltrates all of them. And so, we just picked a few people within the community that we knew that were doing great things, and we decided to honor them. I am very honored to say that we are in our third year, almost fourth year next year, and it is growing leaps and bounds within the transgender community. And it's great to watch and see how appreciative they are of being celebrated. I get emotional every year because the amount of love and just the outpouring of support to the transgender and non-binary community that you feel in the room is it's really palpable, it's tangible, and it's something that we are just excited to do every year. So just for full context, it is a partnership between Atlanta Black Pride and my company, Swank Arts and Entertainment, as well as my foundation, the Winners Lane Foundation, that puts this together and puts it on for the trans community here in Atlanta. This year, we were able to introduce a new award. We do pioneers. They're pioneers of something: resilience, education, spirituality, et cetera, et cetera. But this year, we introduced a new award. We did introduce the Lifetime Achievement Award, and our first awardee this year was to Dee Dee Chambly, who is, if you're not familiar with Dee Dee Chambly, she is a grassroots trailblazer here in the Atlanta community. She's been honored by presidents. She's been honored by, so many people, but she is kind of the mother of the trans movement here in Atlanta. And so we honored her with this Lifetime Achievement Award. And then in turn, the award will be named in her honor moving forward. So everyone that
Oh,
receives it now thereafter will receive the Dee Dee Chambly Lifetime Achievement Award from the Trans Life Awards organization. And she was so moved. I don't think I was prepared for how moved she was in receiving something from her own community. She's like, I've been honored by kings and presidents and organizations and cities and, you know, so many things. She said, but this award to me means more than any of those things because it comes from my community. And all of the awardees thereafter even had notes in their thank yous to her specifically for the, you know, because there would be no them without her in the movement here in Atlanta. And so it is our goal and our aspiration for the Trans Life Awards to take it across the country. We want to make this a part of prides across the country where they honor the respective transgender and non-binary community in their respective communities. So that's I love it. I love it so much.
that is amazing. Wow. I mean, I know that you've been doing this for a while, and it's so great to see people taking the initiative to support the communities. Now, you actually spoke about your foundation. I didn't know you actually had a foundation. So talk a little bit more about that. You know, 'cause you're always doing something new. So explain that.
That's new. The foundation is a new move because I want to be able to um, pull the awards under the foundation and garner more support and more financing, truthfully, more money to be
Yeah.
able to keep doing the work that we're doing. But the Winters Lane Foundation is named after, so my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, grew up in Catonsville, Maryland. I'm originally from Maryland. I'm from Catonsville. I grew up in Louisiana, but my roots are still, my family's still in Catonsville and still in Baltimore. But my grandmother lived on Winters Lane in Catonsville. It's kind of the main street in this little town, and everybody knows everybody. But her house was a house of safety, a house of healing, a house of refuge, a house of, you know, parties. And back in the day, like she would host, you know, different parties, but she also, you know, prayed for people in this home. She had a list.
Mhm.
I remember growing up and watching her. She had a notebook full of people's names, and people would literally call her, and she would literally get up every morning at 5 a.m. and pray for them and call out their names in the list of this book. And so as an homage to my grandmother and to the love and the care and the no respecter of person that she was, she embraced everyone, including those of the community. I named our foundation after the street that the house is on. So the Winters Lane Foundation will be a place of just everything that I have described for the LGBTQ community. It'll be a place of education. It'll be a place of support. It'll be a place of, you know, movement in the trajectory of where the LGBTQ community is going and moving forward into the future. So that is the Winters Lane Foundation. I'm so excited for the work that we're doing. We've listed for our 501c3, and so we can't wait for that paperwork to come through. But we are listed with the state, and we are just ready to just really have some real change happen within the community.
Sir, you are a blessing. If no one's told you, you're a blessing. The amount of work that you do in the community is amazing. And we need more people like you. We really, really do. Um, so in addition to the foundation, you know, your regular job, which we'll get to a little bit later, I want
Yeah,
to talk and focus on Swank Arts and Entertainment,
yeah.
your baby. You know, give a little background and history on how that started for those that hadn't seen you on the IG Live with me last year. Talk about that and where you've gotten it to today.
Yeah, so Swank Arts and Entertainment is an event management company. We do event logistics. Those. So just to give you some context, I had been an independent contractor for the Essence Music Festival since 2003. I grew up, as I mentioned, grew up in Louisiana. And so I have, through connections and friends, started working with Essence earlier on in the millennium. And every year they were bringing me back, And so during the pandemic, I really, as we all kind of took our lives into retrospect and kind of said, okay, what do we need to be doing? What brings us joy? What brings us fulfillment outside of going to work 9 to 5 every day? And one of those things was, I really love the event space. I really love putting professionalism behind events, conferences, tours, etc. And so Swank Arts and Entertainment was birthed out of that. And we've been doing great. It is, I truthfully cannot really put into words how much I love this aspect of my work. I have so many, hands and so many hats that I wear, but Swank Arts and Entertainment for me is truthfully my baby, and will continue to grow. So if you have a conference, if you have, a tour or anything of that nature, you feel free. We are nationwide. We can go to any city and assist. But we help with specifically not only the planning aspect, but we're not so much planners. We will help you bring we'll be your arms and your legs to bring your event to fruition.
You execute.
Yeah, we execute the events, really. I love logistics. I love being able to say, okay, this is how this is going to work. This is how this is going to move. This is how, and it's seamless and it's professional. And it leaves a lasting impression on all your patrons when they come and support your conferences, your events, your tours, etc.
Let me ask you this, because all businesses, especially small businesses, when they get started, have a hard time like really getting off the ground. You seem to have a good foothold, and you seem as though like you're progressing nice and smooth. How's it going? Like, are you seeing a steady progression?
Yes, it's slow though. Like I think one thing that you have to really be cognizant about in being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. Number one,
it's not.
Number two, you have to have patience. I think patience is truthfully key in growing your business or expanding your business. And so we are 3 years in at this point. And I used to be very anxious about the trajectory of the business, and I just want it now, and I want everybody to know about it. I want everybody to call me. And why are my friends not utilizing me? Why are they getting these opportunities and not thinking to call me? And all of those things. But one of the things that I have had to, number one, iron out in therapy. Number two, really come to the realization is that my business is for the long haul, and so it will have its time, it will have its season, people will get it. I think the other aspect that we, tend to miss as entrepreneurs is that we are trying to make people see something that they may have never heard of before or have never seen. And you just have to be true to who you are and what you're doing, and they will catch up. They will get it. But you stick to what your why was, what your business plan was. All of those things are your purpose in your business plan and in your business as an entrepreneur. So I would, if I had to offer, and I don't think you even asked for the advice, but if I had to offer the advice for those, because these are things that I'm still learning even in the years. And while it looks like the trajectory is, at a steady pace, some days it's slow. Some days nobody's calling, and some days everybody's calling. So, you just have to remember your why. Remember why you started. Remember what your vision is, what you see. It's only for you to see, because if they saw your vision, then they could do it themselves, right?
Yeah.
Your vision is just for you, and you take that picture and you make it a bigger picture, and you go for it and do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, trust me, I get it. There are days when it's just like, does anyone even remember that I'm here? And then there are days that are like, can you please just forget my number? I need to breathe. You know what I mean? Like today is one of those days for me. It's like, everyone lose my number. I need to breathe.
Listen, I'm on vacation. I'm supposed to be on vacation. This is a staycation for me, but I'm okay with it because I know it gives me the opportunity to really kind of catch up on things or breathe or, do what I want to do as opposed to what I have to do.
Well, listen, I thank you for taking an hour out of your vacation to spend it with me and to spend it with this audience. Yeah, like I said, you're doing some amazing things, and I just love the energy that you put out there. Now, let's get to all these things that we've been talking about. That's not your regular 9 to 5 job. For those that don't know, Dewayne works for a major airline that has a hub in Atlanta. I don't know if you want if we can say it on. Oh,
we can. It's fine.
Okay, so yeah, you work for Delta, correct? And
yeah.
you've worked for Delta for many, many years. And
yeah, this is my 8th year. I'm coming up on 9 as a flight attendant. So that is my day job. But I also just recently, and this is also coming up on a year, this past February, I became the president of our internal LGBTQ organization at Delta Airlines. So that is a whole nother.
It's a job. It's a job, sir. It's a job.
It is another job in itself. And I think, one thing that I also want people to know, because when I say president, everybody, you have ends and things and connections. Let me explain. Companies have, some call them employee work groups or business resource groups. They have various names for their internal organizations that help the company and the trajectory of making sure that they are in line with causes and things that matter to them. I'm just the president of the organization. I don't have purse strings. I don't have sky miles. I don't have anything that would, help you, so to speak, in that aspect. But more or less, it is really grassroots community work within an organization or within a corporation. That's pretty much, everything that I'm doing in the community, I now get to do for a corporation.
Yeah, but that's a lot. And I follow you on social media, so I know when you're doing a lot of these different things, you're not in one place. You're doing them all across the country. Granted, it helps that you're a flight attendant, but this is another commitment, and you take these commitments very seriously. Talk about some of the things that you've done, especially like this year, because I've seen you kind of all over the place with different Pride events and different types of events. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think the first thing I'll say is, thank you first and foremost for recognizing my commitment to my commitments. All I have is my word, right? And if I say that I am going to be committed to something, I have to be committed to it, right? And if I can't, then I'll say that I can't. But all I have is my word, and I really stand firm on that statement, in the best effort that I possibly can. And that's not to say that I don't fall short sometimes or that some things take a back seat, but all I have is my word. So I have to be committed to the things that I said I'm going to do. But with that said, this presidency position has afforded me the opportunity to vision cast for a corporation or an organization.
Say that again.
This presidency has afforded me the opportunity to vision cast for a corporation. So an organization within a corporation, right? And it's really helped me grow exponentially. And it hasn't been a year yet, just FYI. It's only been February will be a year that I've been in this position, and it is a 4-year commitment.
Oh, okay.
So when I say vision cast, it allows me to look at where we are as an organization, again, within a corporation. And I keep saying that because we have to yield to the corporation and whatever the corporation decides they want to do, and we have to be okay with that. Right. But I can still create a vision for this organization and a trajectory of how we're going to get there. And what does that look like for some? So if you're watching this and you have a BRG or an ERG within your corporation, what does that look like? What's important to your members, right? Healthcare is a hot topic right now.
Mm.
Trans healthcare, it specifically is a hot topic right now. Um, you know, let's see, community endeavors and activations are important. Support in, all areas and aspects of the LGBTQ community. All of these things are things that can be important to your organizations. So you have to be able to kind of like hone in and listen to your membership, and then vision cast what's important, connecting with certain organizations and business models, like the HRC and all of these other, community organizations, GLAD, etc. Making sure that we have great relationships with these organizations, Lambda Legal, etc. All of those things to make sure that there's support within the community for your organization. So all of those things, it's been stretching me greatly in learning how to, again, take all of this input and vision cast it for an organization.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, and that's just in addition to all the other things that you're doing. What does a typical No, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, but you know what? It's not. It kind of works in tandem, right? Because as a community activist or as a community supporter and ally for various areas of the community, I can now take these things that I know within the community and bring them into the corporation,
Mm,
right? So it's not far-fetched. It just takes some, massaging into saying, hey, we need to have a relationship with these people because these people are the people that so on and so forth. And being a host, if you will, for these various community endeavors and this corporation, and saying, hey, you guys should know each other. Here's why. And let's, and it can be something great out of that.
let me ask you this: do you ever see any like bleed over between that and then what you do for your businesses?
Yes, actually. I had the opportunity this past weekend for them to kind of, I wouldn't say collide, but they got real close.
Okay.
Right? And one of the endeavors, this kind of work specifically with the ERG BRG work that we do for
Can you
the
explain that a little bit for those that don't know what that means?
So this kind of work for the employee resource group or business resource group,
Okay.
however different companies call them different things. They either
Okay.
call them they're resource groups basically,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
there's several of them. Most of them have an African American or a Black one. They have a Hispanic one. They have an Asian one. They may have all whatever's important to the organization. So they'll branch off in those different categories. Just
Okay.
FYI. But this kind of work, number one, is extremely, extremely tiring. It also does not include in most cases, does not include extra pay, right? So there's other incentives, like they may give you a stipend. They may, promise a trajectory to a merit position or a corporate position based on the work that you're doing. Because now you literally are, a project manager, or you
Right.
are working, doing, leading a work group of, so you're showing that you have the capability to
Leadership
lead a work
skills.
group. Yeah, these leadership skills that are pertinent for different various corporate positions. And so, you really have to love the work that you're doing. But I said, to your original question in regards to it kind of mirroring, I got to work very closely with our marketing department for an internal, Boulevard Bash, as it's called, for all internal Delta employees. And, you know, having to kind of flex my logistical skills in events, and it really kind of showed itself, and they were all like, oh, you actually know what you're talking about.
We
Yeah,
didn't know you could do that.
yeah, we didn't know you could do, and so I also would admonish folks to bring their full authentic selves to their workplaces, because this is how they're able to see who you actually are and what you actually do and what you're actually passionate about, for that matter.
Yeah.
um, because the current position that you're in may not be the be all end all. You may need, you may have aspirations to move to corporate or move to a different sector or a different department. So you have to be able to present yourself in the opportunities to show them that you are, capable of doing the things that you say you can do.
Indeed. So that leads me to my next question. How do you manage all of this on a like what does your day-to-day really look like? Like
Ooh.
give us the day in a life.
Okay. Okay. Truthfully, so let's be clear to kind of break it down a little bit. I'm still flying as a flight attendant. So, excuse me, my flight schedule, I'm senior enough, thank goodness, that I can work. I genuinely will fly either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday every week.
Okay.
So I'm flying those days. I'm working in that aspect. While I'm flying, I'm answering emails. I'm, sending Teams messages for those that use Microsoft. I'm, when I get to my layovers, if I have layover cities, I'm usually doing virtual meetings or, interviews or stuff, whatever. So I've kind of had to do this with the work to get it done. Not to mention, anything that Swank may have coming up or going on during the weekends. I generally would try to keep my business stuff, for my personal business on weekends, or that way I have the autonomy or the flexibility to be able to, you know, do that stuff on the weekends. Not to mention, I'm very active in church. I go to church every Sunday. I am a licensed and ordained elder. Like all of those things, and I have to show up again, being a man of my
Right.
word. I am in church every Sunday unless there's something that falls on a Sunday where I have to be, I have to miss, and I'm accountable. My
Oh,
leadership knows where I am. Those things are very important to me, my accountability and my character, my integrity. So an average day is kind of that. So this explains why a staycation is what I prefer to do
yeah.
than being on a boat somewhere, which I would absolutely love. But I sometimes being at home and resting is what your body needs.
It's necessary.
Yeah, I try to listen to my body as much as possible. Like when I don't want to do anything, I don't do anything, and I don't feel bad about it, because I know that if my body's not right or if my mind's not right, like I just had this morning, I had a session with my therapist. We do virtual sessions with I was like, it's time. We need to we need to catch up so that my body, my mind, all the things can be aligned and in one space, so that I can bring my full authentic self into the space wherever I'm working.
Yeah, and on top of that, you want to be able to have a personal life, a social life and loved ones. And
That too.
how do you? I mean, it really becomes how do you manage it all? But one is time management, and then also just knowing what's important to you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I have a partner. I've been in a relationship for 3 years now, almost four. And to your time management point, I am very strategic. Like after a certain time, the phone goes to do not disturb, the computer closes. Like I have to intentionally give him some time as well. Like I
Yeah.
have to intentionally, be present for him, and some days are better than others and some days are not. We both have our endeavors and things that we're working on and doing, and some days we miss the mark and some days we make up for it. But when you're intentional about it, that makes the difference.
I totally get it. Totally understand it. Like right now, my husband's being very patient with me because, like I told you off screen, we
Yes.
have an event to go to after this. So,
Yes.
but the other thing too is once you have the support of a loved one, it makes life a little bit easier because they understand, what you're trying to do, and they're there as a support system to help you to make those goals and dreams come true. And then also you're supporting them in their endeavors as well.
Yeah, and even if they don't understand, like my partner happens, like I'll give you a perfect example. Just Wednesday, I had committed us to going to this legal event that I had completely forgot about. And so I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh gosh. And so at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, hey, did you still want to go to this event with me? And he's like, event? What event? He didn't put it on his calendar. So it was kind of like, oh, well, okay, come on, let's make it happen. And we went and had a great time. But the point is that, I had to sidebar and thank him for always being willing to, just support and show up to whatever I say, hey, we have to go to this thing. And he's always like, okay, we always laughed after, because I'm like, I'm always dragging you to something, and it's always an adventure, and it's always something, that you probably would have never even thought of or fathomed. But he understands the purpose in community connection for me.
Yeah. Plus, you know what? He loves you, so he's going to do it anyway,
Yeah.
regardless. That point.
That,
So what do you have coming up on your radar? Like, what's next for Dewayne Queen in the next couple months and next year ahead?
so the next couple of months is going to be kind of a wind down.
Okay.
The year, so as you mentioned, and I do want to kind of backtrack a little bit. You did ask me about my travels throughout the year that you've seen. Delta does this year, and this is the first year that we've ever did this undertaking. We did 22 Pride activations across the country.
Wow, that's a lot.
We supported 22 Pride activations across the country. What I had our officers do, myself included, so our president, me being the president, our vice president, our treasurer, and our secretary, I had them divide the prides up, because they're on various weekends. I had them divide the prides up and, just show up and support, and show these smaller networks or these other, departments that we're in support of what they're doing, just to, wave, shake hands, let them know that their organization supports them. And so what you saw was me literally going to Pride activations across the country. And it was great. I call this my Obama era. So I'm supporting our internal organization and just shaking hands and getting to know people, because these are the members of our organization. These are the people that matter. And how we can, make sure they're supported and loved and seen is important to me. And so I don't mind going out, shaking hands and kissing babies. But so that was what you saw. But then also, one of our international activations that we did for the first time this year was we went to Amsterdam, and we did the Pride activation in Amsterdam. And for those that are not familiar with Amsterdam's Pride, their parade is on their river. So it is a huge, it's boats, it's people lined along the canals to see the floats and the people. It was absolutely fantastic. We had 105 people show up on the boat, and we were on the boat, and I mean, it was incredible. We had a great time. So and my year culminates with Atlanta's Pride, because Atlanta is later in the year. We're in October. Our Pride is in October, and so the year's end for me in activation specifically is usually in October. So to answer your question fully, for the rest of the year, I'm just going to enjoy my partner, enjoy family, enjoy the holidays, and then kick off 2024 with our quarter activations and things that we have planned in the pipeline for Delta and community as well.
Wow, well, good for you. I think you deserve a little break, a little time at home, as you said, with your staycation. Listen, if you can't be there for yourself, how are you going to be there for anybody else?
That part.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This has been amazing as always. I love talking to you. Let me ask you this: what do you have intel for the next award show next year for the Trans Awards?
We are really making strides now in connecting with other community organizations. So what we found this year, as our third year, what we found is that, number one, the community completely supports and backs. We already have a commitment of $11,000 towards next year's awards, from various organizations and community partners. And so it is, we've had it for the last 2 years at the fantastic Civil and Human Rights Museum here in Atlanta. And I mean, it having it in that space, it goes without saying about how much foreshadowing and how much it means to the community to have it in such a space. But I think one of the things that we're going to project to do this next year is make it bigger. and potentially move it from Pride weekend. I think, we tend to run into a lot of people that can't participate because they have other obligations for the Pride season. And so, we're looking at maybe having it in a different time of year to be able to, really, really have the full support of the community.
Okay. That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to, everything you got coming in 2024. It's gonna be a big year for you. Um,
Yes.
what would you want to leave this audience with? Who is Dwayne Q, and where do you see yourself?
Oh, there's so many questions. Let's see. What would I want to leave with the community? One of the things that I really stand on is a quote by James Baldwin, and he said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced.
Mm,
It's absolutely one of my favorite quotes, and again, it's by James Baldwin, and I stand on that in my community endeavors. We can't I can't change everything, but we can't face it until we can't expect change until it's faced. So um you know there's always a tomorrow, despite of what you have experienced today. There's always tomorrow. There's always a guarantee that the sun's going to come up, and there's going to be a different day full of different opportunities and different aspirations. It won't always be this way, but if you continue to aspire for the next day, it'll definitely change. But I am just one person that loves hard, that loves our community, that loves the work that I do, and just will always continue to look for opportunities to make this world, leave a mark and make this world a better place.
mm. Well said, my brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you for what you
I love
do,
you
what you
back.
stand for, man. This has been an amazing time. I love catching up with you, and I hope that in 2024 we can actually do something together in person, whatever that looks like. But I definitely want to do something with you. Um, this
Yes.
has been great. So thank you, everyone who's taken this opportunity to sit here and just watch Mr. Dwayne Queen talk about his life and where he's been, where he's going. This has been Take Two. I've been your host, Chris Edwards. I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.
Take care.
Thanks for watching this show on Indie Soup Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.